may not, respond to certain situations like other kids might. We don't get, we still get invited.
That's good. That's good to hear.
So,
yep.
So we're very lucky about that.
That's
been a lot of people that like, especially like I can't even imagine when I read some of the people whose their own parents are, checking out, not getting it. Like I can't even imagine if my parents weren't supportive and my husband's family also supportive and,
That's good to hear.
So we're definitely lucky in that.
As far as the education system now, how has that been? I assume he went through, preschool, with, ed plan and.
He did. So we did Babies Can't Wait Till He Turns 3 and then they helped with our transition into, the special needs preschool, which is housed by our county school system. So he was in the special needs preschool for 2 years. Our home school did not have one, but like the next school over did. Which was not a problem for us. It wasn't, it's maybe a 15-minute drive. No big deal. Went over there and, I had two years. I was happy with it. First year was half day. Second year was, the full day. And then he also did kindergarten. He ended up placing into the MOID room, the moderate disability room. And so it was cool because there were only like 5 or 6 kids and they had, one teacher and then 2 paras. And I don't have any complaints. We had a good experience. You hear a lot of horror stories about public school and I do worry about down the road, like middle school, high school, but so far elementary school, we've had a good experience. Now, he actually this year is not in the public school. We kind of had an opportunity fall into our lap to go to a private school and there is a scholarship here in Georgia, the SB 10, that allows you to take the funding from the school that they would have spent on him and put it towards private school. Because this private school was able to offer a lot more intensive therapy than a school can realistically do, we decided to give that a try for a year. And so it's been an interesting experience. Like, I'm glad that we tried it. I don't think it's something we're going to do for another year. I do think we're going to return to our school system next year. But I'm glad we had the opportunity to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. To explore, whatever's available. Yep. So, I'm just looking through my notes here. So how do you generally cope with, what do you do for fun? What's your go-to as far as managing the stress?
Well, it was
what's the impact? I guess rolling that into
yeah. Well, the first year is kind of an anxiety.
Well, yeah.
It was funny. I'd been on, cause I have like a history of, anxiety, depression. Like I look back at my childhood, I'm like, man, I had a lot of anxiety. I thought I was worried more than everybody else. And then, my
right there with you.
My teens kind of, turned into like dealing with depression and everything. And so I started taking, medication when I was 27 and I was on it right up until we decided we were going to get pregnant. I went off of it and it was fine and, pregnancy was fine. And I kind of was at a point where I was like, all right, I think I'm good now. Like I was on it for almost a decade. So I was kind of like, well, I think that gave me the chance I needed to reset my brain because I feel like it was a chemical thing and I couldn't get out of it myself, but the meds gave me that pathway out. But then all this happened and, life didn't go the way I expected. And I kind of just was like, you know what, I'm going to get back on it because I don't know where this is headed. So I went back on so I am on medication. Though I will say, like, my old symptoms, like the way I used to handle stuff, I guess it was preparing me for this because I handle all this stuff way better than I would handle, just getting a flat tire in my 20s. I mean, I'm definitely like very different in that way.
It totally up-leveled your ability to cope.
Yeah, it really did, which is interesting. I guess that's the one bonus.
A good takeaway. Yes, thank you.
Because like when all this happened, when we got the diagnosis, I thought, okay, I thought the whole mental health thing was going to be my big life battle, but no, I get this too. Yay, awesome. I thought I was done. But so it's been kind of weird. So I tend to handle most of this stuff pretty well. I mean, the first year and maybe not so much, like in the hospital, I was kind of a mess. But after that,
anybody would handle that.
Got to the point where I almost felt like maybe it was a little too well. Like because I used to be a big crier and I didn't cry anymore. And I was like, I wonder if I have a problem that I don't cry. But I just feel like I just was always going, always had stuff on my mind. So I don't know if it was just keeping me so busy and just kind of blocking out. I kind of feel like I was blocking things out a lot. So
I think you almost have to sometimes. Yeah. I think it's abnormal. I think that it's,
I think a lot of people tend to fall in one camp or the other because I definitely see some people online that I feel like you feel too much. Like every seizure is personal for you. Like I don't know how they do it because everything that happens is such an upsetting event for them. And I'm like, I would have died if every seizure upset me that much. Like, I wouldn't have made it. Because,
yeah, me either.
And I don't mean to sound like critical of them.
No.
I mean, everyone has their own emotional responses, but there are definitely people that like internalize every single feeling about every single setback to such a point that I honestly don't know how they do it. All right. It says what it is, you know. But it's kind of funny because the last couple of years have been really good. We kind of got to a point. We had a really bad incident with a status seizure where he ended up in ICU for 12 days. And it was horrible at the time, but it ended up being a blessing in the long run because, you know, they tried every med. They couldn't get it stopped. It was a really bad situation, but he ended up back on phenobarbital, like the old ones that, you know, they try first and you don't stay on it for too long.
Yes.
It's not really a great med that you really want to be on, but if it does the trick, you do what you got to do, and it did the trick. So ever since that stay, we've had the best seizure control of his life. Yeah.
And it was adding the phenobarb back in.
Yeah. So he's currently on cannabis oil, phenobarbital, and Sabril. And that's been the key. Like we went 2 years after that hospital stay without even, the only thing we ever adjusted was cannabis oil. We used to constantly tinker with pharmaceuticals. We didn't have to make any changes to his doses with the pharmaceuticals for like 2 years after that big incident. And it's only just recently we've seen a little bit of an increase in seizures, but he's also grown a lot. He's a lot bigger. So we're kind of tinkering again to kind of get, but it's still nothing like what we experienced before. It's still
that's so good.
Yeah. So even though we're seeing a little bit more, which is a bummer, it still does not remotely compare to, knock on wood, what we were going through before.
Right.
So we're still happy with the results that we're seeing.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. If you had some advice to give to a new parent getting a TSC diagnosis and give a few words of what would have helped you more though you had a really pretty positive experience, it sounds like, as far as getting the proper diagnosis.
Yeah. I mean, we got lucky. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing the most important thing is finding a doctor that gets it. I mean,
yeah.
And so, and I think that's the key, but it's also not an easy thing to do.
No,
especially for people who don't live, like I live in a metro area. I live in Atlanta. So, you know, if you live somewhere a little more rural or, you know, certain parts of the country. Yeah. And I know, that's a whole different hurdle. So, but that is important. Like if your doctor, cause it kind of makes me nuts. I go listen to what everyone's telling you. If you definitely join these groups. Sometimes they'll drive you crazy, but you do need the advice.
You do.
You just got to learn how to weed out what's good and what's bad.
Yep.
You know, if everyone's saying, hey, your kid needs Sabril, and your doctor is saying, oh no, we can treat the infant style spasms with Keppra, like, no.
Right.
It's time to walk away. Like, you got to find someone new when we're all telling you. I mean, when there's a consensus, there's not always a consensus in these groups, but it's definitely, I think other parents are the biggest resource.
Absolutely. Yeah. That wasn't as much available when my kids were little. And I just, you know, I'm always saying, go look on the boards. I mean, if just bouncing ideas off of each other, and what a resource.
Right. And for me, that's been, and then that also just helped me kind of pull me out of the hole of why me, like seeing all these other families.
When I hear about somebody else, I'm always like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Because honestly, I felt like, what did I do? What did I do so wrong in life to deserve this? And, you know, and when you start meeting so many other people and you're like, and you start realizing, okay, this isn't about me. Things like this happen. This is life. It's not about you. You didn't do anything. Stop beating yourself up. And I think that really, like, being in touch with all these other families really helped me accept the situation, because it was like, no, I wasn't targeted by some higher power for not being a bad person.
Right.
Like, I wasn't some horrible thing I did 10 years ago. Like, this is life. Crappy things happen.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, that's key. It's not the self-blame and finding support. Definitely. So you've given me a whole lot of information. How overall your experience? No, in a good way. Absolutely. That sounded really bad. With healthcare professionals, that too much. But if you can think of, as far as working with, you know, educators, doctors, what has helped you the most?
I think what's helped me the most is knowing. I think you really need to go in knowing what you're talking about. Like, knowing the
Understanding the
terms.
disease and knowing it.
Yeah, you need to know the basics. You need to read up on stuff. If you go in there just fully counting on them to tell you everything, if you have a great doctor, that you'll be okay, but you might not. And, so being aware of what medications, like I knew before we even talked to the neurologist, I was like, okay, Sabril is this drug that they're saying everyone needs to take for infantile spasms. Like that kind of stuff it's really good to have that in your mind, to know that you need to know on your own, like what the recommendations are for how frequently you should have MRIs and honestly, especially when you're dealing with children's hospitals, no matter how great the doctor is, there's a bureaucracy between you and them. The schedulers don't get it. Sometimes the people that you have to go through to get to the doctor don't get it. So if you don't know what you're asking for, what you're pushing for, you can't get to the doctor to get what you need. Everyone like Boston. Boston is we've had great experiences going there. We were in a study up there. Yeah. And we were in a study up there, and the doctors there are great. The treatment we got there was great, but we live in Atlanta, and when I had to communicate with them from a distance, it was not easy.
I can imagine.
And sometimes the information given to me, because it wasn't the doctor, it's someone they dispatched to call and tell me stuff, wasn't good. So I needed to know kind of what I was listening for. Be like, okay, that doesn't make sense. I think that you're misunderstanding this.
Right. I can relate. That's really good advice.
I think you do need to go into it with a certain amount of knowledge. You need to know what the different, like a lot of people, think everything's a tuber. Different body parts, that's not actually the name for every type of growth that is on there. Like
exactly.
I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of don't really know the basics. And I feel like that is a major setback in healthcare, because you don't know what to listen for with them telling you. Like if they say, oh, we can put up this MRI for a couple of years, and you say, no, like my kid's at the stage where he needs to be having it every year, whatever that is. So I think it's definitely important to be like looped in. You don't have to read scientific journals. Most of what I get is just from, looking at the TS Alliance page or, just following their posts, and just, you don't have to do anything crazy, read a textbook or anything like that, but just kind of have a basic knowledge.
Definitely.
Of the ins and outs of this disorder.
Yeah, and it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
And now, have you, just as a almost final question, have you had any issues with behaviors? Because I'm going to be going into this in depth.
Because kind of just recently, I have always felt like we got lucky in that he was a good sleeper, and we didn't have a lot of the behaviors that a lot of other people talked about. And I was kind of like, okay, we missed our seizures have always been our big burden.
Right.
And, he's autistic, he's nonverbal. But, he definitely has found his ways to show us what he wants, and he's demanding. Now, we are seeing now he's getting a little older. He's also, with the decrease in seizures, that means more awareness, which is good, but it also means he gets more stubborn and knows what he wants. And so just recently we are seeing a little bit more behavior issues that I never felt like we saw before. Like before, if he didn't get what he wanted, he might fuss for a moment, kind of yell, and then move on. Now those have turned into more extended carrying on. He's started
resistance.
He's resisting. He smacks the wall. If he's mad in the car, he's kicking the seat. And that's relatively new, and he's also bigger. So right now, this is kind of the first time since he's been born that I'm a little bit concerned, because it's not like anything he's doing right now is so crazy or out of control that we can't handle it, but he's getting bigger. And so I'm feeling a little bit nervous that some of this could stick around or get worse, because the bigger he gets, the harder it is to control. So I'm kind of for the first time in my life, actually, just within the last couple months, I'm having to kind of think about this and be like, ooh, is this a stage, or is this
right? It's always that balancing act with TSC. Do we attribute it to that, or is it just typical,
right?
Related?
Because when he really likes something, he gets uber fixated on it. So when you got to take it away, it gets ugly. And it used to be
that's typical.
He used to be out of sight, out of mind.
Behavior.
Not anymore. Now it's really hard for him to let go of what does want. And now his tantrums are a little more physical, and he doesn't try to hurt people, but he just, cause he's kicking and fighting back. So, we've never had any issues getting blood work. And then the other day we went, and he, for the first time ever, went just crazy trying to get away, and ended up kicking the nurse, man. And I was fully restraining
him. Yeah, you posted
and it
that.
Came out of nowhere. I did, yeah. And it came out of nowhere because the nurse even knew us. She had taken his blood before. She remembered us, and we were both kind of looking at each other like, where did this come from? Because he'd never reacted like that before. So I definitely have some nervous,
well, you know what? Now. You are aware, and you know about the potential. So I think that will be your guiding force. And
right.
it can be very frustrating, but the sooner that you get help when it's needed, the better.
Right.
So that's good though that he hasn't had a lot of challenging